I've just finished making a video that is linked to blog number 1, and now this video is linked to newsletter number 1. And in the blog video I mentioned this booklet called Lockdown 2020, Surviving the Storms, and then I spent the first 20 days of lockdown last year, it was about April, writing this book. And in this book there are 10 tough time tips that I'm going to be sharing with you. So this newsletter is very much also focused on surviving the storms. I don't know if you have ever been caught in a storm, but I was playing golf at the Humewood Golf Club in League, and we were surrounded by dark clouds, and all of a sudden the lightning started to come down from above, and it was the most horrific noise, and I could see the lightning flashing not too far from where I am. And I know that people had been killed by lightning, but thank goodness I was able to make it back to the clubhouse without being hurt, and for that I was deeply grateful. About 10 years ago I taped a video about the Methodist Church in America, the Goshen Methodist Church, that was hit by a tornado. The lady minister was up front preaching, and her daughter was sitting in the choir stalls where the pews are, and unfortunately the roof fell down on top of Hannah. She was only about 4 years old, and tragically she was killed. She was an amazing person. In the video you can see this child with the most beautiful face. She had the most angelic face, and she touched many people's lives. So here we have a storm at the golf club where I now escape without being struck by lightning, and then you have this church that is hit by a tornado, and about 30 people die, and one of the people that was killed was this young girl, Hannah, the daughter of the minister of that church. The congregation all pulled together, and they really believed that something had to be done so that they could still worship on Easter Sunday. So in the car park they built a makeshift altar. They made like a little church there, and the sun came up, and they had the most wonderful service. So storms come in all shapes and sizes. At the moment in our country, South Africa, we've got crime, we've got corruption, we've got violence, we've got the COVID, we've got drought, we're running out of water. Our one dam's only 4% full of water. There's homeless people. I could keep on going. We're living in a world where there are a lot of storms. And as I mentioned in my blog video, you have to be mentally strong, you have to be emotionally calm, and you still have to keep flying with the right attitude if you want to get through the storms. About 20 years ago, the deputy head of a big school asked me if I couldn't come talk to the teachers, but they were going through a really tough time. There was a bit of a storm as teachers were being reallocated to different areas, even out into the rural areas. And he asked me if I couldn't develop something to encourage and uplift and support the teachers. So in this booklet, I share the 10 tough time tips. And I'm going to write a separate blog on each of them. So let me just quickly go through them. I'm not going to expand on them, but here you will see there's a book, and it's all about your brain and your mind. And it says over here how to use your mind to improve your life. So when you are going through a storm, what happens over here in your laptop, what happens in your mind will shape how well you get through that storm. Number 2, we have to think of people who are worse off than us. In this book here, this Joy magazine, there's stories of Christian people who have been persecuted, they've been killed. In this little lunchbox over here, I just have a bread roll. And for some people, that's all they will have for the day to eat. And for some people, they may not even have that. But just a bread roll in a lunchbox for them would be, wow, can I please have that bread roll because I'm hungry. Got the most beautiful calendar over here, and if I open up the calendar you can see all the days here. Now you can't live all 30 days at once. You can only live one day at a time. So when you go into the storm, if you focus too much on all the past days and you worry too much about all the future days, you're going to get yourself into a bad place. So you've got to take it one day at a time. We know that our hands are quite soft. My hands are very soft because I don't work on a construction site, and in these gloves, when you put them on, they can help you when you go off on your mountain bike. Now my brother Michael does all these motorbike adventures. He's mountain bike adventures, the PE to Plettenberg Bay, and people have to get onto their bike, and for many of them they will say it was tough, but it made me a stronger person. On this calculator we have a positive sign and a negative sign. When you're going through a tough time, rather focus on your blessings, focus on your positives, focus on what you have. Don't focus on all the negatives, because there are lots of them. Try and focus on the positives. I've been a Methodist for more than 50 years. I've been a local preacher for 40 years, so I'm part of the Christian faith. So when I'm going through a storm, I always find that my walk with God helps me a lot. The next one is, when you're going through a storm, think of how successfully you've navigated previous storms. So this is a success here in 2017 and 2018. We won the South African A section interprovincial squash in our age group, which I think was 60 to 65. So this was a success. So when you're going through a storm, think of how you have achieved and how you have accomplished those successes, even though there was a storm going. Over here, find an interesting project. This is the AWG online project, and this is the Bryland Education Sports Centre Academy for School Leavers project. So for 14 months I've had no work, and it's been a struggle, and some miracles have happened in terms of getting money to keep going. I'm so grateful to my mother, because she pays for this flat in which I'm staying, because at the moment I can't afford to pay for it. But I know that I'm hopeful that things will start to improve. You might wonder why I've got my tennis racket over here. When you're going through a tough time, in tennis you've got to serve. Roland Garros is on at the moment, so when you're going through a tough time, go and serve somebody who's worse off than you are. Find somebody who's battling more than you, and go make them a sandwich, or give them some fruit, or just give them something that will encourage them. And then the last one is be open to the love and support of other people. So this is a placemat. My younger daughter Kirsty, who's 30 years old, she made this for my mother's 90th in August last year. My mother's an amazing person, and I struggle to accept help from other people, but during these tough times my mother's been amazing, and she's helped my wife and I, and she's now signed for this flat because I don't get a fixed salary, so I'm not allowed to sign for the flat. But I'm very confident that things will start to get better with all of these dreams that I have about the School Leavers Academy, and also about the online. So yes, I'm going to make a separate blog on each one of these. So there'll be 10 separate blogs that will help you. So I encourage you, as the blogs are put onto my AWG online, that you will watch them and watch the newsletters and read the newsletters and watch the videos. All of the best.